Hey everyone, so RWA.xyz just dropped a massive update that's honestly blowing my mind, and I had to share this with you because the numbers we're seeing are absolutely insane. Let me break this down for you. This new update shows us two key metrics: distributed asset value and isolated asset value. And when you see these numbers, your jaw is going to drop. First up, we've got almost $18 billion in distributed asset value. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck does that even mean? Think of it this way. These are RWA tokens that use blockchain as their distribution highway. This means you and I can actually subscribe to these assets, hold them, and manage them directly from our own wallets. Pretty cool, right? But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The isolated asset value, we're looking at over $414 billion. That's almost $500 billion sitting on-chain right now. Let me put this in perspective for you. This is money using blockchain as a superpowered record-keeping system. It's making everything more transparent, easier to track, and way more efficient. The crazy part? You can't transfer or trade these on-chain yet, but they're there, being tracked on the blockchain. Here's what's keeping me up at night thinking about this. We're looking at nearly $500 billion on-chain, and we're still just getting started. This is literally the beginning phases of what's coming. When we zoom out and look at the total market, we're sitting at about $36 billion in total RWAs on-chain across all the major networks and platforms. Canton's leading the charge here, which isn't surprising. Now, let's talk about what's happening with XRP, because this is where it gets really interesting for us. XRP is showing 132 million in distributed asset value. That's up 6% in just the last 30 days. Plus, we've got 250 million in isolated asset value, climbing almost 3% over the same period. But check this out, and this number is absolutely insane to me. We're approaching 50 RWAs on the XRP ledger. 50! When I look at this list, it's mind-blowing how fast this space is moving. Now, I'll be honest with you, a lot of these numbers are coming from Mercado Bitcoin, which doesn't show any value yet, probably because the tracking systems haven't caught up. But still, the sheer volume of RWAs hitting these networks is incredible. Here's what most people don't realize, and this is huge. We're still talking about millions and billions here. We haven't even scratched the surface of trillions or even quadrillions of dollars. And yes, quadrillions is absolutely possible in the coming years. That's not me being crazy optimistic. That's just math when you look at how much value exists in the traditional world that could be tokenized. This brings me to something really important that BlackRock and Citi have been talking about. Remember that update from Ripple Swell back on November 5th? The SVP of engineering at Ripple said something that stuck with me. The XRP ledger was purpose-built for real-world utility, for money markets, tokenizations. Our vision is to preserve its strength and make it better for institutional adoption. Before I wrap this up, I need to address something serious that's been happening. Over the last few days, I'm seeing more and more people getting their money frozen on exchanges like Mexi. This is a massive problem in our space, especially when these exchanges aren't fully regulated. Let me be crystal clear about this. If you're holding your crypto on exchanges, you're playing with fire. I don't care if it's cold storage, hot storage, or whatever. Just get it off these exchanges. Control your own keys. Here's why all of this matters. The main focus right now and the next massive wave in crypto is going to be institutional-grade adoption. This is where the real money is going to flow into our space. We're talking about the next level of adoption that's going to change everything. This RWA update isn't just numbers on a screen. it's showing us that the infrastructure is already being built for the biggest wealth transfer in human history, and we're here to witness it happen in real time. But wait, it gets even better. Ripple isn't just sitting back and watching this happen. They're 100% committed to bringing institutional-grade adoption onto the XRP ledger through institutional DeFi, tokenization, and stablecoin initiatives. And honestly, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about where this is headed. Here's something that absolutely blew my mind, and if you didn't know this, prepare to have your world rocked. Remember that big update from Securitize at the end of September? Well, Securitize isn't just some random company. They're 100% backed by BlackRock and Morgan Stanley. Yeah, you heard that right. They dropped this absolute gem. The first integration of Ripple's RLUSD into our regulated tokenization stack opens new liquidity pathways for the largest yield-bearing assets on-chain. We're talking about the BUIDL Fund, with BlackRock and VanEck's V-Bill, all powered by Securitize. And guess what? XRP Ledger is the first to benefit from these new assets and use cases. This is where I really want you to focus on the bigger picture here. Use cases. This isn't just theory anymore. Institutional DeFi is becoming reality right before our eyes. Securitize is absolutely massive in this space. When you look at the market overview, they're the third largest platform with over $4 billion tied to them. And out of all the networks they could have chosen, they picked Ripple, the XRP Ledger, and RLUSD to target these massive institutional-grade funds. Carlos Domingo from Securitize said something that gave me chills. We work closely with Ripple to make sure that any tokenized asset we have integrates well with RLUSD for on-chain liquidity, purchasing the asset, and more. That's potentially the largest use case out there. Did you catch that? The largest use case out there. And here's where it gets really exciting. Carlos recently broke down why tokenization matters on Yahoo Finance Market Catalyst, and his explanation was mind-blowing. Check this out.
Carlos Domingo, Securitize founder and CEO, is joining me here in the studio. Carlos, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we've talked for a while. So congrats, first of all, on this deal to go public. And Securitize and tokenization has really become a buzzword since we started talking, I think, a couple of years ago. It's really gained a lot of speed. Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about the sort of concept of tokenization first and the value that it brings. We are seeing more of an interest in tokenizing a broader swath of assets, right? And I think most interestingly, or most recently, stocks being tokenized is something that has come into the conversation. Why would I want to, and how does it work? Why would I want to tokenize a stock?
So look, just to explain what tokenization is in layman terms.
Yes.
Every transaction in capital markets, whether it's a stock, a bond, a fund, a redemption, an interest paid, whatever, dividend, involves updating a ledger, right? So somebody has to have a record of who owns what and how that transaction affects the ownership change, and also, the money that you've, used to pay for the transaction. So tokenization is nothing else but taking these securities and that are in antiquated ledger technologies, silo, not connected to each other, and put them on a modern public distributed ledger technology like a blockchain is, to provide all these efficiencies. So why people want this? Well, it's going to democratize access to a lot of assets. It's going to make the assets easier to move around. It's going to make them easier to borrow against them. It's going to make it easier to receive dividends on time, etc. So ultimately, this becomes like a better way of holding and trading the assets.
I guess what I'm confused about is why create a token twin of the asset rather than just securitizing the asset itself?
That's a very good question. So what we do is we actually work with the issuers. So when we issue a token, the token actually represents the security. There is no other copy of that security anywhere else. It's not a twin. It's the actual native representation. It's just is represented on a different ledger, a blockchain, with the entry on that ledger is called a token. So this is not a twin. This is a native representation.
Well, but for example, if it's a stock, it's not the stock. You're not owning the stock itself, are you? Okay.
Yeah, of course. So actually, most people don't realize that when you, let's say, buy stocks on Robinhood, they're not under your name on the cap table. They're actually under the Central Securities Depository, the clearinghouse. DTC has a company called CD&Co that all the stocks are actually under their name. But you can actually request those stocks to be placed under your name through an entity called a transfer agent, which every publicly traded company has. And then when you do that, if the transfer agent uses a blockchain as their ledger, then that's tokenization, and you're going to get a token. So it's actually a better mechanism. You're actually really owning the stock. You really have rights. You can vote directly. You can receive the dividends immediately because they will know that you are a beneficial owner, etc., as opposed to holding the stocks in the traditional way.
He basically said our traditional system is completely broken, and tokenization is the enabler of the new financial system, the Internet of Money. Securitize has been pushing this incredible campaign, Tokenize the World. They're going all out with this marketing push because they want to bring not just billions, but trillions of dollars on-chain. And remember, this is backed by BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, and some of the biggest institutional players on the planet. Now, here's something that'll give you goosebumps. Robbie Mitchnick, who used to work at Ripple and now works at BlackRock, just dropped this truth bomb. Tokenization has broken the paradigm that forced you to choose between yield and liquidity. Tokenization isn't coming, it's happening now.
It's all about taking the generalized value prop of tokenization, which has lots of exciting things, right? 24/7, real-time settlement, digitally native, global, interoperable, programmable, and saying, how do we deploy that in a given asset class in a way that creates material new value or utility for investors? And so in the case of BUIDL and in general, in the case of money market funds, tokenizing them has broken the paradigm that previously existed that forced you to choose between capturing full yield on your US dollar savings and having full liquidity. For the first time, you could hold US dollars in a tokenized money market fund. And then as soon as you needed liquidity to make a payment or settle a trade, et cetera, you could convert that to a stablecoin. And that, I think, is a really powerful value proposition. That's why this asset class, far and above any others to date, has seen real growth and adoption in tokenization. So now the question is, where do we go next? And a lot of it is going to stay in this category, right? Because there's lots more to do to be able to open up access and serve more and more clients and investors. But also it's about figuring out what are the second and third, next most viable asset classes where you can use tokenization to drive real utility, to expand access, to create an incrementally distinctive level of value for users of that. And that's the journey we're on now.
It's happening now, not in the future, not maybe someday, right now. BlackRock has been on a full-scale tokenization push, and it makes perfect sense why. They were one of the first major institutions to jump into this space, and now they're telling us loud and clear, this is happening whether you're ready or not. These institutional players, these enterprise giants, they're 100% committed to tokenization because they see the massive opportunity. They know that tapping into these new technologies is where the entire world is headed. Here's what most people are completely missing. We're witnessing the evolution of our entire financial system in real time. Between AI, crypto, and tokenization, we're literally watching a new financial system being born right in front of us. And while most people are still oblivious to what's happening, the smart money, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Securitize, they're not just watching from the sidelines. They're building the infrastructure that's going to power the next generation of finance. They weren't listening at all, but the smart money kept telling us, tokenization is the future. Tokenization is happening. We are witnessing the new financial system. And now, Securitize just dropped an absolute bombshell. They're calling tokenization the single greatest opportunity in all of finance. When you see these numbers, you'll understand exactly why they're so confident. Check out this estimated growth in tokenization through 2033. We're looking at $18.9 trillion. Let me break down this incredible journey for you. Right now, in 2025, we're sitting at about 0.6 trillion. That's roughly $600 billion. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. 2026, $1 trillion. 2027, $1.6 trillion. 2028, $2.7 trillion. And then, hold on to your seats, because we start taking major leaps. 4.6 trillion, 9.4 trillion, 13.4 trillion, 16.5 trillion. Now, these numbers could change over time, but the trajectory is absolutely mind-blowing. We have a massive opportunity staring us right in the face, and almost every single major player realizes this. BlackRock, Citi, some of the biggest banks on the planet, they're all talking about tokenization now. And here's why. This is just the beginning. This is going to completely transform how everything around us moves, operates, and gets processed. Picture this: real estate moving on-chain, equities moving on-chain, institutional funds moving on-chain, derivatives, you name it, it's going to live on-chain. Remember what Larry Fink said? Every single asset is going on-chain. Every single asset. And here's the kicker. We're not even at $1 trillion yet. We're not even at $500 billion. The upside for tokenization from this point forward is going to be absolutely enormous. We are literally standing at the starting line of the biggest financial transformation in human history. While most people are still trying to figure out what's happening, the infrastructure is already being built. The partnerships are already forming, and the money is already starting to flow. This is your front row seat to watching trillions of dollars move into a completely new financial system. The question isn't whether this will happen. It's already happening. The question is, are you going to be part of it? If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story is just getting started. We're documenting the biggest wealth transfer in history, and you don't want to miss a single update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where we'll dive even deeper into this financial revolution.